welcome to ADHD Whiskey. My name is Matt. Today we are talking about the June offerings from Barrel King for Barrel King Gold members. If any of these bottles speak to you and you want to learn more about becoming a Barrel King Gold member so you can get your hands on these SOBs, then go on down to the description below and click on the link for Barrel King. That link will magically transport you to their website where you can become a Barrel King Gold member, which allows you access to these beautiful bottles and more. As always, I preface these Barrel King release videos with a little bit of information. If you do not know, I am an employee of Barrel King. I am their chief tasting officer and master blender. So although I try to remain as unbiased as possible and I try to shoot straight from the hip, it's important for you to know that before I take my first sip. This June there are 5 offerings available for Barrel King Gold members: 3 wheated single barrels, my wheated blend, and batch 88. The 3 wheated single barrels are 76, 86, and 87. I pre-nosed and pre-tasted these 3 single barrels before shooting this video. Instead of doing a deep dive into each one of these single barrels, what I did instead was give them each a primary nosing and tasting note based off of my first instinct. My initial notes when I first tasted and smelled these: batch 76, fruitcake; batch 86, cherry fizz; and batch 87, amaretto. Accurate? Accurate? Accurate. If this were a game of darts, I would have hit the bullseye 3 times. Unless, of course, the game of darts we were playing didn't require to hit a bullseye, but required to be precise in other ways, in which case that's what I did in that game of darts. Then we have batch 85. Batch 85 is a wheated bourbon blend. This is my very first blend that is not finished in any sort of way. It is a straight bourbon blend. A blend of 7-year Indiana wheated bourbon with a mash bill of 71 corn, 45 wheat, and 4% malted barley. The yield on this batch was around 700 bottles, I believe. And after tasting the completed blend, we gave it the name Swedish Fish. If you don't know about Swedish Fish, then you're not very deep in the candy game, now are you? Batch 85 comes in at 116.4 proof and is a blend that I'm super extra happy with. That makes me happy. That makes me smile from ear to ear with brand new fake teeth. The nose is bright and sugary. It's like a waffle crisp cereal on the nose, like a golden graham waffle crisp combo. It's like if they got mixed together by the cereal gods and then poured into a bowl over bourbon. When working with wheated bourbon, you have to understand that there is a wheated funk that exists. There is something that's buried deep down inside a lot of wheated distillate that I find to be like not the greatest note. It's almost like a dusty, sort of like farmy note. But I can assure you that batch 85 Swedish Fish is not that. Batch 85 Swedish Fish kind of like cancels out those notes that make wheated bourbon unappealing to some people. And it just comes across as a super sweet, super enjoyable, super palatable, super delicious, and super crushable wheated bourbon. Just nosing this, I'm thinking that this is a great bourbon to roll into summer with. Let's go in for a taste. Batch 85, Barrel King Swedish Fish. Down the hatch. Down the hatchery, you could say. Boom, fish joke. Man, that makes me happy. Yeah. Every time I taste it fresh, I'm like, oh no, what if I don't like it? What if I don't like my blend? What if it's different this time? What if, you know, I just get scared. I get scared. Then it puts its soft little batch 85 hand on my shoulder and says, Matt, you done good. You done good, boy. The first thing you get is that sweet, red Swedish Fish note, and then it kind of melts. Kind of like melts into this buttery, creamy. It starts red and sweet and then finishes gold and creamy. I don't like tooting my own horn, but if I had one, I'd be blowing it. What I'm really hoping for in an end result in any of my blends is a very desirable tasting experience, something that hits right And I do believe truthfully that batch 85 is probably my best blend to date that's just extraordinarily good wheated bourbon. And I hope that whoever gets a bottle really enjoys it as much as I do. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Every time I've thought about pouring some whiskey lately, I have gone to this. This keeps calling my name. It calls my name like no one has ever done in the bedroom. And I appreciate that about this batch. Oh, Matt. Finish me, Matt. And then we move on to the grand finale. The great grand finale, batch 88. Batch 88, batch to the future. Great Scott. A 115.1 proof knighted Barrel King straight bourbon whiskey finished in Rare X bourbon barrels. Batch to the future is 6 and 9 year 21% rye MGP bourbon, blended and finished in Stag and EC23 barrels, Barrel King Alpha and Beta barrels. So this is a Jared blend that hit EC23 barrels, Stag barrels, and 2 barrels of formerly awesome Barrel King bourbon. And the color on it is BEA beautiful. I have tasted this one other time, and it was while I visited Barrel King 2 weeks ago. I tasted it, didn't know what it was, and I said, what is that? What is that? What is that? Jared, what is that? Jared, what is that? Jared, Dad. That smells fantastic. Wow. Much richer, deeper, darker tone than the wheated single barrels and my wheated blend. My initial thought was a milk chocolate, and then I was like, well, there is a little bit of dark chocolate in there, but it's like a red fruit infused chocolate, like one of those organic food stores that sells the candy bars for $13 for a square, and they have like raspberry infused in them. There's definitely that, but then the more I get into it and the more I begin thinking about it, there's like apple pie in there. Like if you kept apple pie inside of a cigar humidor, and you walked into that humidor and you were like, good God, who baked an apple pie in here? And a chocolatier raised his hand and said, oh, that was me. It also has some Rick House influences in there. If Willy Wonka snuck in the middle of the night and built a bourbon waterfall that got heated up and sent into an apple pie hot tub. The nose is very complex and very desirable. It's robust and complex and just like what you're looking for in the nose of a whiskey. Now let's go to the palate to see if the palate matches the nose, or the carpet matches the curtains, as the kids say. That is super unique. The flavor profile isn't what makes it unique, it's the tasting experience. So normally, typically, a lot of times, when you're sipping a whiskey, especially 115 plus proof, you taste it, and then a flavor is building as it flares up on the back of the palate. Like it starts on the front, and then builds and builds and builds and gets hotter and hotter and more aggressive as it reaches the back of the palate. And then the finish kind of fades into something soft and softer and softer. What made this first sip so unique is the flare happens at the front of the palate, and then seemingly it's getting softer as it reaches the back of the palate, but while also building in flavor. It doesn't quite have an explosion, but more like an implosion. It's an implosion of flavor, but in the best of ways. All the flavors being directed towards like the mid palate and coats like the middle of your mouth in the weirdest way, and then goes down in a soft, it's damn it, it's different. I felt like I was going somewhere with the whole explosion implosion thing, and Turns out, I friggin' nailed it. So, suck on that. You thought I didn't know what I was talking about? Try it for yourself and you'll be like, Matt, you're a master of words even though you suck at talking. Second sip to see if I'm crazy. Wood sugars. Wow, that's good. That is 6 and 9 year, 21% MGP bourbon. That tastes so much older than that. That tastes like something you get off a much older whiskey. I'm very hesitant to say that finished whiskey tastes like older whiskey because it doesn't. You can't speed up the aging process. No matter what you do, you don't get the same flavor profile out of extra aged bourbon and expedited aged bourbon. This, I feel like, might be the closest thing to a whiskey that is between 6 and 9 years old, tasting like a whiskey that is 14 years old. The wood sugars that are imparted on this whiskey are friggin' phenomenal. And from the mid-palate back, it's like all aged bourbon goodness. We can go in depth about all the chocolates and pies and barrel char and like all the flavors that you could possibly pick out of this whiskey. But what's very important to me is the tasting experience. Like I said before, this offers one like no other. It is so mellow on the explosive alcoholness, and it's completely tamed down into a bourbon that is high proof, but also delicate. It's delicate. It rides the middle of the tongue like a monorail and hits on every single thing that I love about a good bourbon. So to recap, June Gold members have 5 options, 2 blends, 3 single barrels. Batch 88 is my favorite. Batch 85 is the runner-up. Batch 85 is what I would consider to be a great example of a delicious wheated bourbon that's not under the Buffalo Trace umbrella. Batch 85 is my blend. Batch 88 is just ridiculously good. Batch 85 wheated, batch 88 not wheated. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If you're looking for more details on the single barrels, 87, 86, and 76, I'm gonna dive deeper into those on tonight's live stream, May 31st. So be sure to watch that if you're interested in knowing which of the single barrels I like the most. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, click on the link in the description below, become a Barrel King Gold member, and see what all the fuss is about.